Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you had a nice break. My name is Sarah Tori. I am a product manager here at Axoniq. Lots of familiar faces and some new faces, so it's great to have you all here today. I am honored to introduce a few of my wonderful colleagues that I work very closely with on a daily basis today to give you updates on what we've been up to the past year, and some of them actually much more recently. We will start with Mitchell. And he will go through the platform that Allard showed briefly in the last session. And he and his team have been really busy working the past, I would say, 6 to 9 weeks, building this wonderful platform here that you will see today. After that, Steven will be here to talk about the new changes within Axon Framework. We have a huge change within the framework, and so he's going to walk you through that. And then Milan from our server team is going to also take you through all of the changes within Axon Server. We've had a brief, or actually a small change within the schedule that is happening this afternoon. So we were supposed to have a workshop right now happening in the other room. For technical difficulties, we had to change that to the afternoon at 1 p.m. So our wonderful presenters, Simon and Christian, will be having their session instead of right now at 1 p.m. In the same room. And then the session with Martin Dilger was supposed to happen at 1 p.m., but that has been moved to 2 o'clock. So with that, I am honored to introduce you to Mitchell to go through the wonderful platform.
Yeah, thank you very much. All right, so it's great to be back here. Last time I was here in front of you guys was last year introducing Axoniq console. And that looked quite different. So last year I presented this platform to you, Axoniq console, the monitoring platform for your Axon Framework applications, where you could manage it and everything became easier. You could see the metrics, you could change your event processors and all that. But this year we've been looking more towards a revolution than an evolution of that. And as you can guess, that has everything to do with AI. I almost don't dare say it anymore because we were going to hear it a lot today. But we have been really focused on getting AI into the forefront and center of Axon. So I can show you a bunch of screenshots, but I've decided to do something way more riskier today. I like living on the edge. So I'm actually going to go ahead with a live demo before handing it over to my colleagues Steven and Milan. Thank you. So this is a new Axoniq platform. We've designed it to be your one-stop shop. One-stop shop is what Allard said. Where you can find your learn resources, get started, find information about our new analytics agent and download a trial there, but also get started with Axon really easily. So what we've introduced right now is a quick start package that automatically connects your Axon Framework application to Axon Server, which connects to the Axoniq Platform, as well as the monitoring of your Axon Framework application to get you started a little bit faster than the quick start initializer of Spring. But we've done something way more powerful yet, and that is what we call the development agent. So this is where the AI really comes to the forefront and center, and I've been honored to, for the past few months, build this with partners from Open 200 and from the data agency with Ruben. And this is what I'm mainly going to show you today. We are going to build an Axon Framework 5 application right here and center, if Wi-Fi permits. So this is the new development agent. As Allard already pointed out, you can just enter a prompt and you can tell it to build a bank, and it will try to build it well for you. So I know my colleague Steven always has, we know the bike rental demos of Allard. Who has seen a bike rental demo? I've seen too many. So I was thinking, this guy here, my colleague Steven, is really into old games. So let's build a platform where you can rent out game cartridges to one another, but with collateral. These things tend to have value, right? Especially emotional, but you can put a money value to an emotional value as well. So let's put it as collateral. So please build a platform that where users can rent Nintendo 64 cartridges and put them up for lending, but with a collateral that has to be paid in advance for damages. Now, I currently live in Gran Canaria, so I had to fly here to Amsterdam to be here. And the moment I sat down in my plane, you know, the world of AI moves really, really fast, right? So on Monday evening, I sat down in the plane, and this news article came out. Anthropic just released Claude Sonnet 4.5, and I'm releasing an AI platform tomorrow on an old model. That can't be right. So I'm actually gonna give you guys a choice, and this will make it potentially riskier for me. On the plane, we have built the new model selector, so we can use the new model. Can I get a show of hands for who wants to see it with the 4.0, the old model? No? So who wants to see it with the 4.5 Sonnet model? Yeah, I was afraid of that. I shouldn't have given you guys a choice. So let's hope the Anthropic gods are kind to us today. So what this will do first, it will generate a nice icon for your project, and it will generate a nice name just to get you started. So we will be the Phoenix Cartridge Networks. I'm actually not agreeing to that. This is the Axoniq Cartridge Network. And then we get a choice. You can vibe your application, which is of course warranty is limited, or you can go through an interview stage where we clarify the requirements. So the AI will actually ask you questions, and then through the answers it will make clarifications on your initial prompt. Now I will show it to you, but I won't go into it, because like you don't want me on stage here 20 minutes answering questions, right? We're just gonna go with the vibing after. But it will ask you questions, give you pre-generated answers, and let's just answer one. Then it will make clarifications and new questions based on the things you already put in. So now it made a clarification that we discovered by a search in game titles with filters, and well, that's enough for now. I'm happy the model is working. Now we go into the journey generation, and this is where users will actually appreciate the event modeling syntax that's already in there as well. So we really believe in event modeling, but an AI doesn't really produce a diagram, right? And when you look at the system, usually you take it from the user journey. What does the user want to achieve in the system, and what does the user want to get out of the system? So let's go into this, for example. So into the rental flow. We can see that the AI is really thinking about, well, the user wants to rent a specific N64 cartridge. It views the cartridge page and then initiates a cartridge rental. That means that there is a business event and the user is redirected to the collateral payment page. It pays the deposit, we have the new event, and then it processes this payment and confirms it. And then the user pays the rental fee, and the rental is confirmed. So it tries to go through the command and event flow that is in your system, including queries and also updating views. So if you just squint and see these colors and put it to the side, there's a little bit of an event model in there. We haven't had time yet to build this visualization, but I'm pretty sure we can in the future. Now, the AI is not going to get everything right? So I actually skipped over it. I think we have to improve the prompt a little bit, but it actually disguised the query as a command here. The AI is not going to get it right 100% of the time. This is a V1. We're definitely going to improve it. But just on the chance we get things wrong, we can actually tell it to correct this. So the N64 cartridge discovery uses a command instead of a query to find the cartridge. This is wrong. So If all goes right, it will actually correct this, and we can even make more exotic changes. So it does do a search for cartridges query now. And let's say we're not talking about users, we have a way fancier system. Can I get input from the room? What do you want a user in the system to be called? I tend to use the term bamboozler, or can I get something ridiculous? Someone? Gamer? That's not very exotic, but noob owner? We call them noobs. Okay, I like that one. And then it will actually correct these journeys before moving on to the next stage. So we can slowly see it changing all the journeys and stuff like that. And once it's done, we will, for the sake of time, because I want to give my colleague Steven time, even renamed it. So we have a noob profile update. I'm pretty sure our users will love this. So we can see that through the development agent, we can make changes that we want and actually put it on the right path. And then, well, you can't just implement journeys. You cannot throw this into the Axon framework. We have to write the code in some way. And what is more important in code than structure? So I'm talking about slicing your application in slices and components. So you have a view component, you have a command component, you have a command component uses an event-sourced model to validate commands and produce new events, right? And those, some are related, some are not. So we are teaching the AI to group it in such a way that with the new DCB, with the dynamic consistency boundary that you will see in action in a little bit with Steven, is actually implemented in 90% correct way. We're still working on the last 10%. And you can, well, the AI itself will implement this. So we can see here, let me make this a little bit smaller. It made a command model for the cartridge rental process. We don't model anymore into aggregates or entities. We try to model in processes because we can now have events that just belong to the event stream, not to specific entities within the stream. So we can actually select a part of our event stream and make a nice model of that to validate the events, commands producing events. So we can see it thought of event sourcing handlers as well. And we can see it kind of grouped all the command handlers together that have a relationship. And we can see that it will actually attach tags to certain rentals. This is the power of DCB, which you will be able to experience in the workshops as well. Now AI, please finish. The game rental is taking more time than I expected. But that is a good time for you to show the Ask AI feature. So at any time on any part of our platform, you can open the Ask AI and ask us anything about our documentation. So we can ask it, what is an entity in DCB? Show me an example. So as Steven pointed out, was that Steven? No, it was Allard that pointed that out. That this has all the power of our documentation, and it will help you with any question as best as it can. And we will be improving our documentation for Axon Framework 5, of course, and it will get smarter every day. So definitely try it out. It's free of use if you are logged in. You have to be logged in, otherwise, well, somebody can just well, bankrupt us in terms of AI cost, right? So it's not free for us, but it is free for you. So we can see it now generated all the components, and once we are okay with this, we can go to the next phase. And this is where we go into development, and this is something we still have to expand on. Right now we only support Kotlin with Java 21 on Spring Boot 3 with Maven server. Axon server. And using Maven, that's where I messed up. And later we also want to do things like role-based access control built in. So we will be expanding. This is not the final release. We are expanding, we are looking for feedback, and we're looking forward to improving this. So let's just start generating this code. So we can see we are generating the data classes, and now it's actually up to the AI to start generating the cartridge rental process state. So this is the new event-sourced entity from Axon Framework 5, where it actually starts to make an entity, create event sourcing handlers, and make the model, and then make the command handler looping into that. We are also generating unit tests for this in a new test fixture kind of way. Next is a step to actually run this. We have a pipeline behind this. The code that's generated is put through a pipeline because AI tends to get things wrong at times. And then that feedback of the pipeline is fed back into the AI to improve the code where it messed up. And we will also start doing that with the tests. We will start running the tests and feed it back. Now, this process can take a little bit of time, so I'm not gonna wait this. I'm gonna share this project. Within the Axoniq platform, we have a share function. You choose a username, and on your username, you can make your projects public to share it with everyone in the world. You can then give it stars, or other users can duplicate it. So we have a project gallery. So feel free to look later at the code that my project just generated. I put it live under my profile of Code-Driven Mitch. And we actually have a contest for this. So let me come back to the slides. We dare you to go to build.axoniq.io. Please don't do it on your phone. We have not optimized this for mobile, right? I hope you brought your laptops. Build an interesting application. Publish it on the marketplace and rate the projects of other people. Besides giving us valuable feedback about what our AI does right and maybe wrong, it's actually a very good way to win one of our prizes. So actually, with the first prize being an F1 Lego Technic set of Max Verstappen. There's also a second prize, which is a board game, and a third prize, which is a smaller board game, which I have not yet been given information on which they are. But of course, you wanna win this. So make a very cool project. Make sure everybody in your company rates your project with a star, so it comes to the top of the list. And you will probably win this set. And with that, now you've seen some Axon Framework 5 code. I'm pretty sure I whetted your appetite to actually see the lead developer of Axon Framework in action. So I give it away to my colleague and friend, Steven van Beelen.
Thank you, Mitchell. I do feel you've now called me a noob, actually. As somebody having a lot of cartridges, and now the noobs are the users, but yeah, joking aside, awesome demo. Really cool to see Framework 5 in action in this way. Really proud of that. Really proud of all the work we've put in the, well, in all honesty, past years. I think the development cycle really amped up the last year to get something ready for today. Because we really wanted to show what we've been doing, what we've been thinking about, and how that will change how you could use Axon Framework. So let's look at what we currently have. So if you're going to use Axon Framework 5, you need to be on JDK 21. Because we think it's sane to go to a more recent version of the JDK. We have something that's called Async Native API. We have revised our event store to support DCB, obviously, because we want that support in there. We got stateful message handlers, which we'll come to in a bit, which is essentially driving that vertical slice architecture that Mitchell showed very shortly. Changed the configuration, and well, yeah, we revised our aggregate support to be entity support. It's no longer called the aggregate inside Axon Framework either, because that doesn't really make sense right now. If we're killing the aggregate, we need to kill it right away. Obviously, we got a large chunk of the Framework 4 features. The vast majority of what you would expect from an Axon Framework application is now in Axon Framework 5 as well. There's still things to be done, but we think that there is sufficient to get going. Sufficiently so that we felt comfortable to release a preview. I would have wanted to state release candidate here, but I've been very annoying to the team, stating, hey, we still need those distributed query bus. I think it'll be there next week, but you know, I cannot justify a framework all about messaging to not have a distributed solution for the queries yet. So this is my bad that it's being a preview. I'll need to do another release, so it's my work anyhow. So I think that's a fair choice. Let's dive in some of the new things, and first of those is the async native API. If you're going through our API changes file that is in the repository, you can check with what we've all been doing and how that revamps what it used to be. You'll see that coming along a lot. This is our intent, that you as a developer can choose to go for a synchronous or an asynchronous approach, or for imperative or reactive, that you have that freedom. We wanted to change that you can choose and not that you're stuck to what we've been doing. So this doesn't necessarily mean that we're throwing executor servers all throughout. No, it is you're able to do that. You're able to select that. What it comes down to is a change in two major components. So here we see the query handler interface that we have, which handles a query message, as you might expect, returning a thing that we call the message stream. It has a second parameter called the processing context. So it's this message stream that allows you to return just your object, or a completable feature, or an optional, or a flux, or a mono, or a stream. It'll all just map to it in the right way and getting everything across to the end where you're dispatching your message. It essentially supports 0, 1, or n responses, and it will do that seamlessly for you. We also have the processing context. For those that have been using Axon for quite a bit, you might have heard of the unit of work. The unit of work is the place where we manage the lifecycle of message handling tasks, and we manage the resources. This used to be present on the thread local, which doesn't sit very well with reactive contexts. So we had to get rid of that all throughout. But we were using that all throughout. We had to have a way to carry those resources and carry those lifecycle management. So it's these two things that are at the core of Framework 5, which also made it so much work to get it done, because this changes all our infrastructure components. It changes it for us though. For you, not that much changes. You don't need to deal with the processing context if you don't need it. You don't have to deal with the message stream if you don't need it. Just wanted to show that, well, I'm very proud of all the work we've put on this, so I had to show. We revised the event stores to support the dynamic consistency boundary. This mainly revolves around that an event store no longer has events tied to a single aggregate identifier. It has events that are tied to a collection of tags. So you need to define those tags. You need to define those criteria. This meant we had to change our repositories to load models, our event store to retrieve them and to stream, and the storage engine. So we got a number of storage engines ready for you as of today. We got two on top, which are very clearly still called aggregate. Those are essentially there for migration purposes, so that you don't immediately have to change over, because we understand that a migration takes some effort, and if you also need to change your storage solution to be the new format, that might be a bit much. So we got those in place as well, aggregate based for Axon Server and JPA. We got the DCB implementation in memory, good for testing, not really for production scenarios. Axon Server, and another thing that we've been working on, that is an optimized PostgreSQL event storage engine. So this one does support DCB. This one also has no gaps between the events. So for those that have been using relational database formats before a framework, there were gaps between the indices. This one does not have that. So it is more optimized. And we will keep optimizing this as well. You see, I called it an extension, so it's part of a separate repository as well. So that's very proud of this. Thank you. Let's go to the stateful message handlers. And well, it's all in the name actually. It's a message handler that has state. So super exciting. If you're in an annotated environment, so assuming we have an event handler here, you handle the student faculty a student enrolled in faculty event, and you can automatically inject an entity. So Axon Framework will check this annotation. It will have a thing we call the state manager with a collection of all the repositories. Those repositories can be event source repositories, but we will make it so that you also can inject other repositories if you like, so that you can inject also your query models if you need that, or your projections. You might say this is just syntactic sugar. I'm very happy with the syntactic sugar though, but it will come back later why this is very valuable too. But let's go to the biggest change that you would typically hit, because well, when you're using a framework application, you had your old aggregates, maybe you had your sagas, and you had your text fixers. Those were the massive touch points you had with Axon Framework. So on the left here, we have the old approach. We have a gift card aggregate, just the Spring stereotype at aggregate. You have the aggregate identifier on the identifier of your aggregate. We have a command handling constructor. We use the static apply operator. This reeks of thread local, by the way. An event sourcing handler, default constructor. This is what it used to look like. If you still want this flow, this is what it would look like in Framework 5. So no longer anything called aggregate. It is at event sourced. Automatically open it up for different entity types, which I'm very happy about. Furthermore, you don't have the at aggregate identifier anymore there. The routing is done at a different level, and in this case, automatically. One thing that you can spot is that you don't have a command handling constructor anymore. You need to use a static factory method. We did this because these constructors on a reflective level are super annoying to deal with, and we don't want that anymore. And we think this is clearer as well, because you don't have the instance yet. Whereas when you're in a constructor, it seems that you have it already. A lot of misconceptions. And we have this event appender over here. So this event appender is essentially our processing context aware event gateway. So the processing context we saw earlier, the replacement for the unit of work, we wrap it for you in a component that knows, okay, I'm in this processing context. Maybe you apply several events. Those need to be part of a single transaction before I publish them. So we strongly recommend that if you want to do something context aware, use the event appender. There is also a command variant of this, and there will also be a query variant of this. And the last bit here, the at entity creator annotation. And right now this may seem a bit dull, but let me move to the following slide to clarify why that is nice. So here we have the regular approach with event sourcing handlers. We have our gift cards still, we have our fields. This is also a bit what you would be used to from the event sourcing perspective of your entity. But with 5, we can make them immutable, which I'm also very happy about. We can actually use a data class from Kotlin or a record, and then the event sourcing handler for the card issued event, which is the first event of this aggregate, just becomes the creator of that gift card. So that entity creator annotation is there to signal, okay, this is how you want to instantiate this aggregate, where you can either, well, just nothing, you don't have any parameters, or the identifier, because that never changes, of your entity, or the entire, well, state object right away, or the event, the initiating event. And you can return, well, the object itself. This is really the evolve pattern, right? You're receiving an event, or you're receiving a command, you read all the events, you evolve the state, and then you return the state as is. I think this far more closely aligns with how things have been talked about right now with event sourcing. Let's move to the elephant in the room, the dynamic consistency boundary support. In all honesty, you will not see that much from this, because like Allard put it already, what he stole a little bit from Adam, is we want this to be the norm. So we don't want you to think too much about this. So here I have a command handler that has 2 entities injected, both the student and the course. They're doing some deciding logic, which I left out, and then they're appending several events, potentially for both entities. This is already doing this under the hood. These entities, we know the identifier of those, we know the tag that's part of that, we know the set of events that is part of that, so we can make the event criteria for you, that you don't have to do this, so that we use that criteria to append the events and to source the events. You can change this, obviously. We can use another stateful message handler command stateful command handler in this case, injecting the state. But now I just take the state that I require for my subscribed student to course. And this is really that slice-based architecture approach. Because when you're thinking about a slice, you don't need all the events. You need a subset of your events. So in this flow, you can just make that state object. You could even make it a static class inside that command handler that sources just the events you require. And then, well, you can append for that as well. This has one crux if you want to do this flow that you need to deal with. And this is the one thing that you will hit most when you're doing DCB. And that is the use of the event criteria builder. I would like to simplify this. So if you find a way to simplify this, we will definitely simplify this. But for now, if you're doing this, that you have several entities you're reading from, that you might need to apply to, you need to tell it, okay, I have this identifier, in this case a subscription ID, which carries both my tags. I make a criteria set for the one and a criteria set for the other. That's why I'm combining them in an either. You can have several of these in one entity, because maybe you do have different identifiers for course and student and not the same subscription ID. With that said, we can look a little bit at the future so that I can start giving it to my colleague Milan after this. We're obviously going to work hard to get more feature parity in, because there are some components out there, like event scheduling, that still need to come into play. We will make migration a lot easier for you. So when it comes to the aggregate and Saga logic, we're moving that to a legacy module that, ideally, you can just switch the dependency for the time being. So that it becomes a lot easier to move over from 4 to 5. And we will also further enhance that. I'm thinking of open rewrite scripts, that it can be automated. Distributed queries as an extension. So no longer just through Axon Server. This has been a pet peeve of mine since 2018. So I'm super happy we're going to do that. Projection testing, and to me, the future elephant in the room is Saga or process management. And with that, thanks. I'm going to give it over to Milan.
And now the boring stuff. At least what you would expect from a database, right? So let me try to put some visuals on what Steven has been talking about. This is also something that I shared last year. So we have a stream of events in our event store. Earlier we used to identify them with a single domain concept that was the basically representing the aggregate. Now we have changed that in a way that when you have a command handler that wants to handle a command, it will take a look at the database in the event store, and it will basically see, or how to say, it will try to find which events are interested for these specific command handlers, regardless of where they belong to. However, we are going to tag these events with these specific tags. And then let's say that this command handler needs to know something about the criteria that relates to a domain concept or a tag. This is what Steven showed, how to build a criteria. And then you can just select the necessary events and nothing more, nothing less. But then you can have a command handler that wants to know a little bit from A and also from B. So it will use only this event, because this is the only event that contains both of these tags. And then lastly, you can have a command handler that is interested in dealing with events that are A or B. So it will use all of these events that are tagged. One of the things that the command handler will receive are the events, of course. But it will also receive one special value that is called the consistency marker. And that consistency marker is a really important thing to have when you want to do the append. So let's say that our blue command handler made a decision and it wants to append that decision to the event stream. So it will use the same criteria it used to source those events, and it will use that specific special consistency marker value to append event. And with that, we can basically identify the inconsistency and consistency conflicts. So this is just to rehash what the DCB is all about. I'm aware that most of us already know this, but just for people that do not know. So let's see what this implies when it comes to the changes to the Axon server. So there are two new APIs coming. One is specifically DCB related, and that is for the event store. So the event store now has this append functionality, which was there before, but it was related to a single aggregate. Now it can append based on that specific consistency condition composed of criteria and consistency marker. So this is now a conditional append. That's the really big difference there. You can source events with which you will get those events plus the consistency marker. You can stream events. This is so the difference between source and stream is a little bit subtle. Source is finite, so you will get the end. At the point when you opened the stream, we will capture what's the current state of the event store, and you will be served with those events. But with the streaming operation, you will just get endless stream of events until you cancel. That's the difference between those two. And for streaming, you don't get consistency marker because, yeah, it's a completely different purpose of the operation. And of course, one of the really important benefits of DCB and now present in the Axon Server event store is possibility to retag. So you've seen those tags in the beginning, and it is sometimes necessary for you to make some changes, to reassign events to different domain concepts. So for that, we have a retag operation. This is for the event store API. There is a snapshot store API. This is something of a new thing. It is not specifically related to the DCB. But I put it here with a star because this is still not part of the official release, although it is really close to be released. It has an operation to add a new snapshot, and you can prune. So this is something that was missing from Axon Server, because Axon Server was append only for the snapshots as well, and that was cumbersome and problematic for certain domains because, yeah, you don't want your snapshot store to ever grow. So we added prune. We redesigned the snapshot store also with in mind to not serve it only for command model snapshots, but also to serve it for query model snapshots or any type of snapshots in that matter. You can get the last snapshot, you can list snapshots, and of course you can delete snapshots. And this is also a really powerful thing combined with pruning. So it may be generalized a little bit, the snapshot store, but however, it opened up for so many more possibilities. This is when it comes to the new APIs. There's one thing, you all remember signups, right? That was a separate product built to, let's say, simplify the gRPC API of Axon Server using HTTP protocol. Now we decided, okay, we run that as a trial project. It proved to be really good. So we decided just to merge it to Axon Server. So now Axon Server has all the capabilities of the signups. I'm really happy about it because now you don't have to run two products, two deployables. Axon Server is sufficient for this. And then I was told not to go into too many details about this because there will be few demos and workshops. However, I'm just going to mention it. That is Axoniq Insights. It is basically our view on data lake features. So it will, it is still Axon Server. It is a special role for the for your Axon Server node. So this is tied to the replication. So you will get as fresh as possible data fed into your, let's call it, data lake. Those events will be stored in Parquet files, those familiar with Parquet. And then on top of that, we run some SQL engine. So you can essentially use that engine to run SQL queries, to execute them. I believe that you already saw Alar's keynote, and essentially that is it. And even on top of that, there are AI capabilities. So there is an AI agent that you can use natural language as a prompt to basically have your SQL queries crafted and then ran against the analytics engine, and then you get your results. But more on this will come. So shortly, what's coming soon? Snapshot Store, as I already explained. This will be in very next release. What is missing is now porting old features from the Axon servers, so that were there for the old, I don't want to say storage format, because the actual storage format is the same. So the files of the events that you used before DCB are actually the same as for DCB. But this is just porting a new feature. So supporting the event transformation with DCB is what's coming next. Supporting the multi-tier also for DCB. And for the Axoniq Insights, we are thinking of building few other ways to connect to Axoniq Insights, such as ODBC, JDBC, or ADBC drivers. And all in all, this is it. Do we answer questions?
Think so.
Yeah, so if there are any
If there is
questions.
time.
How much time?
One short question.
Go for it.
Yeah.
If there are questions, obviously.
Yeah. Maybe you can take one short question, right? Because of the break.
Sure. Or David. Yes. Yeah.
So Axon's all about keeping your data and having that history and context. Did you ever consider making the Saga event sourced?
Yes.
Okay. Next question.
Yes, for sure. So this is in part why I think calling it at event sourced makes it so that it's no longer just an entity or aggregate thing. We might be able to use it for our process management as well. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
we will definitely look into that.
Do you support DCB with no tags?
DCB with no tags. Yeah, you can publish an event without tags. Yeah.
I'm talking about just using external indexes instead of tagging explicitly.
So essentially, tags are external indices built inside Axon server. So basically, your event format will contain no information about tags. It is external index on top of the event store. Yeah. Good question.
Yeah. Niels, Christian, Imke.
So we have seen the stateful event handlers, and we were wondering, is the state actually persisted in the database, or is it always event sourced like in a former aggregate?
That's a choice. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. When you have an inject entity annotated parameter, it depends on how the repository has been configured under the hood that's being used. So in the typical flow right now, and that you will also note in the during the workshop, it will be an event source one. So there will be an event sourcing repository behind it. But as part of that endeavor, we made a simple repository implementation where people can just say, this is how I persist and this is how I load. And you got the choice how that's done. So. Okay. I think I've been told to announce the break. So I will. Till 11:15, right? Did I hear that right? Okay. Thanks everybody. I hope you enjoy the rest of the days.